Salut in Chisinau. Behind us we have the Arc de Triomphe, something that unites Bucharest and Chisinau. In addition, obviously, to Paris, the famous Arc de Triomphe is there. And they also have something else that unites them, and that is the colors of their flag and the national language. The official language of both countries is Romanian here in Moldova, and as you'd expect, in Romania. And I have a good bit of experience with learning languages in general. Learned over 10 of them. I'm a polyglot, which is a fancy word for people who speak a lot of languages. And I also have been learning Romanian for a good number of years at this stage, so I speak it quite well. And in this video, I'm going to outline whether you should consider learning it or not, which is the main reason for you to watch it. And also, what is Romanian? Where is it spoken? How hard or easy was it to learn? Did I get a return on my investment? Was it worth for me learning it and my own personal experience? And that'll help you decide whether you should also consider learning Romanian. So let's get into the video. Hai să mergem!
SAR Experience.
So Romanian is in the Latin or Romance language family group. So it's going to be quite similar in terms of its vocabulary to other languages derived from Latin. So a few examples are going to be Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, French, Catalan, and they are the most common. There's a thing called lexical similarity. So I'm going to read out a few of the stats on that. So Romanian has a lexical similarity of 77% with Italian. So that's quite a lot. That means 3/4 of the words are going to be derived from the same origin. 75% with French, 74% with Sardinian. Sardinian is spoken on the Italian island of Sardinia, also a Romance language. 73% with Catalan, obviously spoken in Catalonia and Andorra, and actually also on Sardinia in a town called Alghero. And 72% with Portuguese and 71% with Spanish. So a lot of Americans in particular, they learn Spanish as their second language. So there you go, it's going to be 71% lexical similarity. There is also an institute of the US government called the Foreign Service Institute, and they rank Romanian in the category 1 language, which are the easiest to learn as a native English speaker. So they say 24 to 30 weeks, 600 to 750 class hours to learn, and basically, in theory, Romanian is going to be as easy as Spanish if you're learning from scratch as a native English speaker.
În română sau engleză? E bine în română.
De ce e tradițional?
Tradiția.
Tradiția aici în Târgu Mureș sau în România? În România sau în Târgu Mureș? România?
România, tot Gaborii, tot așa se poate.
Ok, interesant.
Presumably also going to be pretty easy if you actually speak one of those Romance languages as your native tongue. So maybe you're a native Spanish speaker or native French speaker, Italian speaker, Portuguese speaker, and then you should be able to learn Romanian pretty easy. In theory, now, having learned many of those Romance languages, I speak Italian, French, Portuguese, Spanish, and some Catalan. I have to say that I found Romanian a lot harder to learn than those other languages. And I spoke those other languages before I really started with Romanian, and I was surprised about how much harder it was for me. So I'm a little bit skeptical about putting it in that super easy category as a native English speaker, because it was a bit harder. I found the pronunciation in Romanian harder to understand than I did in those other languages in general. Also, the grammar was quite different, so just be aware of that. And you know, the other vocabulary that's not similar to the Romance languages comes from a variety of different languages. Either it's just native to Romanian, or it's come from, you know, German, sometimes from French, sometimes also from other Slavic languages, like the word I read is Chitesc, for example, which is Chitayo in Russian or Chitayo in Ukrainian. So definitely going to hear the Slavic influence in some of the languages. Also, Turkish has left a legacy as well in some of the food items, like the soup here in Romania and Moldova. It's called ciorba. That's very similar to the Turkish word as well. So you get my drift. There's a lot of influence on the vocabulary from other languages. Because the vocabulary comes from a lot of different sources, obviously so much of it is similar to languages like Spanish And also you have influence from, Slavic languages, also Turkish. That I guess if you speak a lot of languages, maybe it should be easier to recognize the vocabulary. But again, don't underestimate just how different Romanian is to the other the other Romance languages, never mind the Slavic languages. Don't underestimate how different Romanian is to the other Romance languages. So you got to factor in that, yeah, you can learn it from 0 to fluency in 2 years. I think that's possible, but I still think Spanish is a lot easier to learn. Haven't learned both of them. So anyways, let's move on. Hai să mergem again.
Apropo, am prins în o toamnă, anul ăsta e o toamnă minunată.
Da? Toamna este perioada mai interesantă. Okay.
Nu, zic că chiar e mai călduroasă toamna asta decât în anii precedenți. E frumos.
De mai frumos.
În noiembrie, tu ești în tricou.
Da, în tricou sunt în noiembrie. Da, este adevărat. Nu, sunt în Irlanda. Da? Când minus 10 grade.
Te obișnuit?
Da. Okay. Sunt în tricou, poate. Okay. Dar bine. A fost interesant interviu?
Da, apropo, de obicei eu intervievez oamenii.
Da?
Da. Acum eu am fost intervievat și este o...
Ce a fost experiența?
Experiență interesantă.
Interesantă. Bine, ok. Hai să mergem. So let me next describe my personal experience with Romanian and whether I felt for me that it was worth the investment of time and a little bit of money and resources, and that'll help you decide whether it's a good decision for you to go ahead and learn some Romanian. Now, I started learning Romanian probably around 10 years ago at this stage, when I was spending a good bit of time hanging out in the country of Romania. I also came here a few times to Moldova, and I traveled almost everywhere around the country of Romania. I was not just in Bucharest, where I spent a couple of months. We also went to my favorite region in maybe all of Europe, which is Transylvania. Absolutely stunning nature and beautiful Saxon Germanic town centers, like you got Sibiu, you've got Brașov, you got Sighișoara, Timișoara, another city further in the west. I went to Baia Mare, went to Suceava, went to Iași, I went to Craiova, went of course to Constanța, Mamaia on the coast of the Black Sea, Nanta Vama Veche. So you get the idea. I traveled around a lot, and of course, older people in particular don't speak much English. If you're in that kind of tourism, when you're speaking to, the older generation, then definitely speaking Romanian was helpful. The level of English in Romania is quite high. I would say it's not far off the levels you're going to find in Scandinavia or say in the Netherlands. It's a little bit lower, but it's pretty impressive and high. And as a result, young people in general, I didn't need for communication to be able to speak Romanian. And unfortunately, I felt that Romania was kind of an exception as a country in this region, that people didn't feel particularly proud to be Romanian and actually weren't even that keen to speak Romanian with foreigners. So ironically, even though I was learning Romanian, my level at the time wasn't super good, probably was like A2 level on that common European Common Framework for Languages. If you know that, I would say now it's probably closer to a B2 level. So just below kind of, it'd be high intermediate. I can handle most things that I need to do. Maybe if there's a group of people speaking, with particular regional accent, it's still going to be a bit hard for me. But back then, it was a lot more basic, my Romanian. And because of that, I didn't feel I got that credibility factor that you get in other countries speaking the other languages in this region. And so, yeah, I wasn't really super keen on living in Bucharest. And I didn't see much of a future. I didn't really feel very enthusiastic about Romania after my year. I do have some great memories from my time, and I still go back to Transylvania because I think it's just such a beautiful region. And I was back there also last year with Angelo when we evacuated from Ukraine. And actually an anecdote to illustrate how at times speaking Romanian isn't very helpful in Romania is that we went to a very trendy restaurant in the center of the city, and Angela happens to understand Romanian better than English. Her grandmother was Romanian speaking. She's quite motivated in learning Romanian, a bit more motivated in learning English. And when I asked for the menu in Romanian, they told me we do not have a menu in Romanian. We only have a menu in English. This is the center of Bucharest. I don't know, I've never encountered that, I think, in any other country in Europe where they didn't print the menus in the local language. They just expected everybody to understand English. And that obviously covers the foreigners that go in there, but this is not a particularly foreigner-centric cafe. Most people there, I would say there were a couple of foreigners, and I go to this cafe quite a bit, but I would say 90% of their clientele are Romanians, but they don't print a menu in Romanian. So there you go. It's quite odd and definitely unusual to see that in Europe. And yeah, I ended up having to interpret a lot of the menu into Romanian, which was a bit weird. So overall, because they weren't enthusiastic and I didn't see much, I just didn't really want to live in Romania after my experience. I don't like Bucharest as much as I do other cities further to the east. At the time I started going to, to Kyiv, to Odessa, and coming here to Chisinau, Moldova, where of course Romanian is the official language and it's spoken by the majority of the people here. The reality is though, whilst I did use my Romanian, my level of Russian was higher than my level of Romanian. And because most people are bilingual, in reality I could just use Russian. I think the use of Romanian is increasing here versus Russian, but the reality is people are quite accommodating. So because I could speak Russian, I ended up, if I ever had difficulty just using Russian, I do, of course, try to also speak Romanian here, and I'm probably more than Russian nowadays because my Romanian is better. And I did, because guys are going to be, of course, you are going to be interested in how did my dating life go in Romania and in Moldova. For sure, I had a lot of great romantic memories of, relationships I had with girls I met both in Romania and here in Moldova. In Romania, I think the big factor was the fact that I lived in Romania. I spent, on and off probably almost a year in the country over a couple of years. And because I was around a lot, that gave me a lot of kudos. I made friends, I had the social circle, and that was really the big value rather than speaking the basic Romanian that I spoke at the time. All the girls that I was seeing, they also had a pretty high level of English or some other European language that I spoke. And here in Moldova, well, yeah, I did use Romanian, but the reality is I could also use Russian. So for me, kind of questionable in terms of the value I've gotten so far out of learning Romanian. Probably just about worth it on average, but not like as much value as I got from other languages like learning Ukrainian or Russian or, the languages I learned like Portuguese to go to Brazil, for example. So I came here back in 2019 with a client whose mother was from Romania, and he spoke pretty good Romanian, I'd say maybe around C1 level, so already quite advanced. And for him, because he didn't speak any Russian, it was a big game changer. He did very well in the dating scene. We were here for a week, and he definitely did better here than I would say for a week than he did in most of the other countries we went to. We also went to Odessa, to Kyiv, and to Minsk. We also went to St. Petersburg. So I think, considering he was here for a short space of time, and the fact that he spoke Romanian was a big, big deal for him because he didn't speak Russian and he didn't have to rely on the girls speaking English. And definitely I could see it was massive value. So I would say that if you don't speak Russian and you're planning to come to Moldova, then definitely Romanian is going to be super helpful. And if you are obviously planning to live in Romania, which in the end didn't turn out to be my case, I would say definitely learn Romanian because you're going to get a big credibility boost over the long term if you're hanging out there nowadays if you learn Romanian, because most foreigners don't learn the local language. They just rely on English. You get put in a box, and there's definitely going to be a lot of accommodation for you in terms of people speaking in English. Probably there's a class of girls that are going to be interested in dating you. Not that they're particularly bad or anything, but you're going to be in a specific box for girls who want to date foreigners. And you're going to be with a lot of other guys in that box. While if you speak Romanian, it's going to give you a bit of an edge for sure. And if you come here, as I said, and you don't speak Russian, then definitely Romanian is going to be a massive advantage. Level of English here in Moldova is definitely a good bit lower than Romania. So even though a lot of young people do speak basic English, my feeling is from hanging out at parties and stuff that if you don't speak either Romanian or Russian, you're kind of seen as an outsider. And for most of the girls, that's not really what they're looking for. So hope that gives you some guidance. If you're obviously just taking a touristic trip, of course, it's like anywhere else. You learn some of the local language. It's going to give you a few extra kudos and give you a little bit of the novelty. But beyond that, it's really about if you're planning to spend a lot of time here that you should go and learn Romanian, or, as I said, you don't speak Russian and you're focused on Moldova. And Moldovans, whilst I would say maybe they're not the proudest people to be Moldovan, got my t-shirt of Moldova I got today, they are a bit prouder of being Moldovan than I feel a lot of Romanians are about being Romanian. If you are Romanian, you've seen this video, write me down below, do you agree? Do you think that's true nowadays? It was definitely my experience or my interpretation 10 years ago, or maybe it's about we'll say 8 to 10 years ago when I was spending a lot of time in Romania. And why is that if it's true, or maybe why is it not if you don't agree? So write me down below in a comment. And yeah, that is Limba Română for astăzi, for today. And let's go on further. Hai să mergem.
When we arrived in Bucharest, obviously the first language that we spoke was Romanian.
Da.
How was that?
Foarte bine. O limba română este o limba oficială în România și Moldova. Avem vorbit românești în România, în București și Galați.
So when we went to Galați, in the east of Romania, and we're in a bar, and all of a sudden Conor started speaking in Portuguese. Why was that?
Sim, fomos no bar e lá falamos com alguns jogadores brasileiros que eles jogam pela equipe de Galați. Então foi maravilhoso falar em português com eles.
Yeah, and in order to find that bar, we had to ask for directions. So, well, we approached a few girls on the street, and then they respond to us in Italian and also in Spanish.
Sì, perché tanti parlano italiano, anche spagnolo, due delle ragazze hanno studiato a Bologna, dove anch'io ho studiato, quindi abbiamo chiacchierato un po' in italiano e hablamos también con una de las chicas en castellano porque ella trabajó en España.
And then we went from Chisinau, we took a bus from Chisinau to Tiraspol, and on the bus we met a guy that was reading a French newspaper or a French book.
Si, bon, oui, j'ai commencé à parler en français avec lui. Il était étudiant de français à l'Alliance française à Chisinau. Il était en train de rentrer chez lui à Tiraspol, donc on a bavardé un petit peu en français et puis il nous a invités à visiter sa ville. Donc c'était formidable à la fin.
And yesterday we arrived in Odessa, so da haben wir gestern Abend auch auf Deutsch gesprochen mit einem Freund von dir, die hier in Odessa wohnt.
Ja.
Und, wie war das?
Ja, in Odessa gibt es jede Woche einen deutschen Stammtisch und gestern Abend waren wir dort eingeladen und so haben wir auf Deutsch für ein paar Stunden mit Deutschen, die hier in Odessa arbeiten und auch.
We zijn natuurlijk al een week samen onderweg, dus we hebben Engels gesproken, ook Nederlands. Hebben we nog veel nieuwe Nederlandse woorden kunnen leren?
Ja, ik hoop het zo. Ja, we hebben samen heel veel Nederlands gesproken en we hebben ook een paar jongens in Tiraspol die uit Nederland komen.
Ja, Nederlanders zijn overal.
Ja, so we kunnen net ook in het Nederlands spreken.
So I mentioned at the top of the video, I have learned well over 10 languages at this point, to varying degrees, mainly Slavic languages like Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian, or Romance languages like Italian, Spanish, Romanian, and Germanic languages, so languages like German and Dutch. And I put together a way for you to learn languages and tap into my secrets so you don't spend years and years trying to get in to learn the languages. You can tap into my knowledge, and I put together a free language learning course, put it down below in description to this video. So just go there, you type in your email address, and then you get my tips and tricks, which will speed up the process for you. And my own personal experience that I live with my clients here, not just in Moldova, but other countries in the region, dealing with which language you should learn and how to learn it is just one of the issues that I help my clients with and how to resolve it in the most efficient manner. Also with clients, obviously building a social circle, because language as well is about making connections with people, work on their social media, so building their Instagram. That is really important on the dating scene in 2023, 2024 as we're going forward. I think Instagram has become reality like a dating CV, so you really need to be on top of that. I see that's a big oversight by a lot of guys that don't understand the power of social media nowadays and having your social media, in particular Instagram, dialed in. You can also put all that stuff on a dating app if you want to do that, something like Tinder, and just transfer it over anyways, in any case, so it won't be wasted. On top of that, we deal with figuring out which is the right city and country for you. If you're looking to relocate to this region, the region I call New Europe, so we're talking about the countries basically to the east of Germany and to the west of Russia/Belarus at the moment. With the Russo-Ukrainian war, I am not bringing clients to Russia, Belarus, and unfortunately not to Ukraine either with the Russo-Ukrainian war, but I'm bringing my clients to countries where Romanian is spoken, which was the theme for this video, here in Moldova, in Chisinau, Crizi Chisinau. Have been here with some clients over the last 10 days in mad Moldova. It's just autumn at the moment, although with this temperature and I'm out in a t-shirt, it almost feels like summer still, even though we're basically into November. Also been bringing clients in the last 2 years or so to Kazakhstan, you could say crazy Kazakhstan, as well as crazy Chisinau, but Almaty the Almighty, the city in the south of Kazakhstan, absolutely phenomenal nature nearby. You got the mountains, you got the lakes, you got the canyons, and you got the friendly Kazakhstanis as well. Been living it up large in Almaty. In the Baltics, because at the moment we're not going to the Black Sea, but we are going to the Baltic Sea and to Riga, the capital of Latvia. I've been up there a good few times and about to go back with some clients in a few weeks. And finally, we have the capital of Poland, Warsaw. And there it's quite interesting because of the Russo-Ukrainian war and the political turmoil in neighboring Belarus. Nowadays, probably about 30% of Warsaw is actually Ukrainians, the cute Ukrainians and the beautiful Belarusians. So if you're looking to relocate to a place with a lot of beautiful women, that is one of them. Because on top of it, of course, you got the native pretty Poles, and have been there quite a lot this summer and this autumn already in Warsaw in Poland. So if you think that you might be a good fit for the Czar experience, then down below in the description to this video is the application form, because my in-person experience is by application only. I vet all my clients before they come. It's not for everybody who's just willing to pay for it. And before you apply, if you're new to the channel, you haven't seen a lot of my content so far, then go check out a few of the playlists I put together. That'll help you to understand whether this is a good fit for you or not. First one up on a card and down below in the description is going to give you a flavor of the cities that I lived the Czar experience on. Got a few vlogs as well from previous cities where I used to live the in-person experience with my clients, with a few client testimonials there. Second playlist is like a series of tutorials for dating the uber beautiful women of this region, the Olympian level of beauty, the 9s and 10s. And finally, go check out my third playlist, which is my vodka series. It's probably over 50 hours of content there where I dive deep into the mentality in this region and the differences between this and back home if you are coming from somewhere like North America, Latin America, or the western part of Europe. And as I come up here, just near to the Arc de Triomphe one more time. Whoop.
Czar experience.
So after that epic fail in trying to show you the Arc de Triomphe, in the words of an ice hockey legend from the land of Canada, but with Ukrainian, Belarusian, and Polish origins, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, said Wayne Gretzky, the Canuck ice hockey great. So down below is the application form for the in-person experience. Go fill it out, and it might be you with me taking the first step on your new 5X optimized lifestyle here in New Europe. So with that, I'm going to say la rivedere, usaro buona, and see you very soon in another video. Pa, din Chisinau, Moldova.
Czar experience.